So in a big judgment today, the Supreme Court of India has struck down the electoral bond scheme. It has said the electoral bond scheme is against the right to information of voters. It is not the only scheme to tackle black money. This is a major step by the Supreme Court today. One, it is a unanimous judgment, so this will have wide political ramifications. The opposition would see this as a big win for it ahead of the Lok Sabha elections, because this is something that the opposition parties, the left, the Congress have been strongly fighting against, saying that this scheme is full of opaqueness. It increases corporate donations to political parties in power, and the allegation also from the Congress and from other parties in the left was the opposition ecosystem. In fact, the opposition political parties was that this scheme was ending up benefiting mainly the parties in power, be it in the center, which is the BJP, or be it in the states, whichever political party was in power. What is the electoral bond scheme? This was a scheme brought in by the former then finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, in 2018. When the rules were notified, the government had in fact said, and if I read those rules out, the government in fact had at that time said that this scheme is being brought about to ensure that the electoral funding is cleansed. That was the logic given by the government at that time, that you can buy any company, any individual can go and buy an electoral bond from the State Bank of India, and that bond they could give it to a political party which can encash it. The catch here was that the electoral bond would not carry the name of who is making that donation. So in a way, that anonymity was given to the donor. Neither the political party nor the donor needed to reveal the name of who had donated that money. Only the SBI, and by virtue SBI is under the government, so only the government knew. That is what the petitioners say. And the petitioners say that that led to a certain level of anonymity. Is there quid pro quo? Some petitioners had alleged in court, led by Prashant Bhushan and Kapil Sibal, that whichever company, that cap which was there on companies that they could donate to a certain amount was also removed. So we have seen big donations coming into political parties, and the opposition and the petitioners in the Supreme Court basically have alleged that over 60% of the donations which have come through electoral bonds have gone to the BJP. That was the major context in which the parties had approached the Supreme Court. Now, what the Supreme Court has said: one, it has said that the sale of electoral bonds should be immediately stopped. SBI has been directed to stop the sale of electoral bonds. SBI has also been directed to issue the details of which political parties have received electoral bonds, what the data is. That entire data has to be furnished to the Election Commission of India by March the 6th, and the Election Commission of India has been directed to publish that entire data on electoral bonds by March 31st on its website. This means that the data on who donated the money, how much money had come, this all may become public. And if it becomes public before March 31st, this could become a major election issue in the Lok Sabha elections, because the opposition may look at that list and say, see, who all donated to the BJP, who all donated to the parties in power in states. Is there a quid pro quo? The scheme is not proper. It has led to all sorts of money being coming to political parties through anonymous means. This could become a major election issue, because the dates which have been fixed for the disclosure of all this data now is March 31st, and we all know that Lok Sabha elections are scheduled in the month of April and May, as they were in 2019. That is expected. Another interesting part that has been directed by the Supreme Court, that political parties will have to refund the amount to the voters, whatever electoral bonds are uncashed with them. So when a person buys an electoral bond, he has 15 days to donate it to a political party, and then the political party encashes that electoral bond from the SBI. But whatever uncashed amount is there, that amount will have to be refunded. We don't know how much that uncashed amount will be, but that amount will have to be refunded to whoever has donated that money. Also, politically, this is definitely a setback to the BJP, because the BJP had been, defending this scheme. In fact, the government in the Supreme Court, if I quote what Tushar Mehta had told the court, he has said that the focus of the scheme was to ensure anonymity. No, not to ensure anonymity. He said the focus of the scheme was not at all to ensure anonymity, but to ensure confidentiality, because he said there was an apex court decision itself of 2019 that recognized the right of privacy as a fundamental right. So he argued that the donors also have a right to privacy. Unless the information is of genuine public interest, in that case people could approach the court. But definitely the Supreme Court has taken a different view here. It has said that the interest of the voter to know who donated to the political party he wants to vote for, the candidate he is voting for, is more paramount. So that is what I think the distinction that the Supreme Court has drawn here, and the electoral bond scheme, which you know, which, and another point which was very significant in the electoral bond scheme, that you could purchase it for any value in multiples of 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, or 1 crore. And the allegation of the petition also was that most of the electoral bonds which have been bought are of higher denomination. So it is mostly the corporates and the private companies which may have bought these electoral bonds and make donation to political parties. Is there a chance of quid pro quo also? Because the donation is completely anonymous. So nobody apart from the government knows who is contributing to whom. So this is another point that in fact the petitioners had raised, that there is nothing in the scheme which connects the donations are actually made towards participation in the electoral process, because there is no way to monitor how the political parties spend that money which they get through electoral bond. It may not just be on election, may not be something else also. So all these points were raised by the petitioners before the court, and now the striking down of the electoral bond scheme as unconstitutional is a big development ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. This will have its impact on various political parties and setback to the BJP. Let's see how the party and the government respond to this. But coming ahead of the Lok Sabha elections, this is definitely something which will dominate the political discourse now, and especially if the list of the donors and the entire entire donations made under the electoral bond scheme are made public by the Election Commission of India, as has been directed by the Supreme Court.